emerging platform is going to be. My view is that cross-platform is going to be sort of a new emerging platform itself. So not just web or mobile or tablet, but the ability to play, your game, your session, as you're walking to work on your iPhone, and be able to sort of continue that gameplay session at work, hopefully during lunchtime. And be able to continue.
Depends if they blocked the domain.
And then when you go home, be able to play on your tablet, which my wife gives me a ton of crap about whenever I do that.
Yours too.
Yeah. But I see that as becoming sort of this dominant game use case, and we're sort of that's sort of avenue that we're definitely trying to push for. But I think for those of you guys that play Kabam games, we try to sort of emphasize on the social aspects of our gaming. So sort of being able to have people play with other players at any platform, that is continuously a lot of sort of resources being cleaned.
Mid-core has become a buzzword, and I heard you mention core games, I think you're referring to mid-core. Kind of this evolution from very, very casual to adding in kind of AAA hooks, traditional core mechanics into what's evolved this mid-core. And like I said, it's become a buzzword recently. How does Kabam uniquely identify itself in this mix of mid-core games that are emerging?
Yeah, I feel like this whole demographic profiling amongst the games or player segments has become sort of somewhat of a big discussion. I know, I just recently read this article about how casual game players are just as hardcore as hardcore game players, which I agree. I mean, any of you guys that have seen some really, really hardcore addicted Candy Crush players, I mean, those folks are really, really hardcore. And I think they have some problems sleeping at night because they can't stop thinking about Candy Crush. So I think when I think of the different player segments, I think you can make a case for that. Each sort of hardcore, whether hardcore, mid-core, or casual, that they all have hardcore tendencies.
Breakdowns within.
Yeah. So when I think of mid-core, I think of it as sort of from sort of what that profile looks like. And as we were trying to define what that player segment looked like as well, we ended up doing our whole research team did a lot of sort of work on this. And what we found out was that it was there tended to be a little bit more male skewed. So not completely all male, like we see with really, really hardcore, like the sort of traditional definition of hardcore, but like 60-40 male, female, around the 18-24 range. And they're open to playing a pretty wide range of games, like strategy, RPG, even puzzle, casino games. And they tend to be a lot more social, wanting to share what their achievements are like. They tend to really be into progression-based type of games, and that's the type of game experience that we're creating. And up until this point, we've been doing a lot of strategy games. So if you look at our portfolio, you'll be able to find all sorts of different strategy games. But based on sort of all the sort of research that we did in terms of what our player demographic looks like, this year we've been putting a lot more focus on trying to sort of branch out into new type of gameplay. So our Fast and Furious game, which is in beta, it's going to come out worldwide very, very soon. The movie's actually just around the corner. Yeah. That game is going to be very different from what our Kabam audience is probably used to expecting. It's it sort of fits towards more of the mid-core game experience that our consumers are towards, which is very progression-based, light session, and the ability to sort of be social and play with other friends.
What are some of the organic or viral channels that you see on social and mobile that the younger developers, those who don't have the deep pockets of Kabam, can take advantage of on each platform?
So, I think if you're releasing a mobile game, because we've been investing a lot of sort of time and resources into releasing hit products on mobile platforms, and I think one of the cool things that I've been seeing is, for those of you folks that worked on console packaged goods games, if you want to get a hit product, you need to get the end cap at the Walmart, Best Buy, or whatever to be able to sort of get the customers that were coming in through those doors to be able to see those games, and those games usually had the best chance to succeed. Right now, Apple and Google Play, they're sort of digital storefronts. I mean, they are pretty much the Walmart, Best Buys of this new mobile gaming world. And I think the cool thing that I've seen with them So they've been pretty fair about like what kind of games they want to feature. So if I'm an indie sort of small developer, I'm sure, I highly recommend. I know even the Apple team, they're looking for very, very innovative, gameplay, where it doesn't have to be like this crazy, high, flashy 3D type of game. It just needs to be new, unique, and fresh. So I was recently playing this game called, I think it's called Ridiculous Fishing. By no means is it this, this AAA type of game, but it's very, very addictive if you ever try to play it. And I think Apple saw this as being a very unique gameplay as well too. They were able to feature it, which was able to sort of help get that game get like 1 million+ downloads. So I think that's one angle. But also, like, all these vital channels are super valuable as well too. So I know, like Facebook, obviously, I think everyone knows about the value of getting your games to connect, Facebook Connect, and putting in some innovative integration so that people can share their achievements and their accomplishments. But Twitter, I think is also emerging as an interesting channel as well too. So talk with some folks that integrated Twitter channels and able to see some success.
So, especially on mobile, it seems that the U.S. has been following the trends of Japan. Initially, the U.S. is about 5 years behind the Japanese market, and then about 2 years behind the Japanese market. Now it seems like once a new genre emerges in Japan, about 6 months later, it emerges here in the U.S. The card battle games are a good example of that.
Right.
At Kabam, do you analyze other global markets to see what's trending, or do you have other methods of predicting trends here in the U.S.?
I mean, I think the battle card game, that example, I think quite honestly, I think that one sort of caught us by surprise. And we've been doing sort of a lot deeper research into making sure we're staying ahead of the charts on all the games. And I think I was just out at Korea G-Star in November, and was just blown away by like the different type of games that were out there. And that sort of gave us a good a good snapshot of the type of games that are going to be coming out in Korea, and eventually coming over to the West as well too. So we've been looking at for like a lot of inspiration and sort of trying to see like what the next type of hit gameplay mechanic might be coming out of Korea, China, and Japan. We're definitely trying to stay ahead of as well too. We know the free-to-play game developers out there have been sort of refining their skill sets and their craft for a long time. So we know there's a lot of sort of good innovative best practices that we can learn from. But also, if you look at it, even just the European territories as well. I mean, historically always been really good at developing really high quality production value games. And with these, with the hardware specs of the devices today, like all those type of gameplay production values are able to work really well as well on tablets and phone devices. So trying to make sure that we can sort of take those learnings as quickly as possible and be well positioned for those type of new trends emerging.
So you mentioned Kabam.com earlier, and then as well, when I was looking at the site, Google Plus is another platform.
Yep.
Do you see much value in some of these other extensions, these other platforms, aside from Facebook and mobile?
Yeah, I mean, so Kabam.com has been a very, very successful gaming portal for us. So, we just
no rev share.
Huh? Yeah, I mean, we control the payment. We get to sort of work with various different payment providers. So, I think that we've been able to sort of get to work with various partners that was able to sort of help us sort of continue to expand our users to help them stay engaged with our games. But it's been pretty interesting because I think when we first started off this Kabam.com initiative, I think there were some people sort of worried about whether or not we could attract enough gamers to this platform. But like I mentioned before, when we sort of made a decision to get off of Facebook, sort of get a lot of our games off of Facebook and sort of create our own new game world, the reasoning behind this was because we knew that there was, based on our sort of analysis, a ton of gamers, millions and millions of gamers that were out there that weren't playing games on Facebook still, and they just wanted to be able to sort of play with their anonymous identity on a site that was dedicated just towards core games. And we've been able to grow Kabam.com to a point now where we are able to start publishing third-party titles. So we have a lot of developers who are reaching out to us, wanting to tap into the audience that we have, which are tend to be a little bit more on the core games, core gamers that we tend to like strategy RPG games. So if you look at Kabam.com today, you'll be able to find a dozen plus games that are not outside of the strategy, RPG games, there's action RPG games as well. And I think that just sort of speaks to sort of